The red scarf fluttered like a warning. In the heat of a crowded market, Sarah's steps began to slow, her breath catching, her hand instinctively resting on her growing belly. People buzzed past her, laughter and shouting blending with the sizzle of food and the roar of the fountain nearby. She tried to steady herself, but the world tilted. Her scarf slipped from her fingers, and then she fell. Panic rippled through the crowd, but no one stepped forward. Feet shuffled, voices rose. Then, movement. A flash of black and tan fur. Rex had seen her. Without hesitation, the canine pushed through bodies, ignoring hands and noise. His badge glinted in the sun as he reached her, and then he covered her with his body. Why did he react when no one else did? Like, share, subscribe, and comment where you're listening from. We'd love to know. The red scarf fluttered like a warning. Sarah tightened her grip on it as the crowd thickened around her. The market pulsed with life, too much of it. Children squealed. Vendors barked prices. The scent of roasted corn and hot oil mingled with sun-warmed pavement. Her eyes flitted left and right, scanning for an opening, a bench, a breath. None came. Instead, the roar of the nearby fountain grew louder, crashing over her thoughts like waves. The scarf, a gift from her mother, had been her comfort through the toughest months of pregnancy. Today, wrapped around her neck, it felt more like armor than fabric. But even that wasn't enough. She was only 6 months along, but already everything was harder. The weight, the pressure, the balance. Her body, once steady and strong, now moved like it belonged to someone else. She paused at a fruit stand, pretending to examine strawberries, but her fingers trembled. Her belly tightened, not painfully, but with a deep inner warning. She pressed one hand to it. Another gust of wind lifted the scarf's edge. Sarah turned her head, trying to focus, but the heat pressed down. Her mouth felt dry. The colors around her blurred slightly, the reds too red, the whites blinding. Her knees locked, then wobbled. She tried to take a deep breath. Failed. Then the scarf slipped. The knot at her neck loosened, and it fell from her fingers. She reached for it too late, and the ground rushed up. No one screamed. That was the strange part. There was a collective gasp, a ripple in the noise, like someone had turned down the volume knob just a bit. But no one moved. Sarah hit the pavement hard. The jolt went up her spine and into her skull. Her hands cradled her belly by instinct, a protective cocoon. Her cheek touched the warm ground, dust and grit clinging to her skin. The red scarf lay inches from her fingers. A child pointed. A man mumbled something. A woman clutched her purse tighter and stepped back. But no one stepped forward. Time stretched. Sarah's heart thudded in her ears. Loud. Louder. Then something sharper sliced through it. Barking. Not panicked. Not feral. Focused. Commanding. A flash of black and tan fur broke through the legs and sandals and stroller wheels. The barking grew louder. Then came motion. The K9 Rex. He had been stationed nearby with his handler, scanning the crowd for trouble. His ears caught the sound of the fall. His eyes locked on the red scarf, and something in his chest, training, instinct, heart, ignited. He moved. His handler shouted, but Rex didn't hesitate. He lunged between people, forcing them aside with his sheer presence. Vendors looked up. Customers gasped. One woman spilled a bag of grapes as Rex barreled past. Sarah, eyes half-lidded, heard the pounding of paws. She felt him before she saw him. A warm weight pressed beside her. A presence blocked the sun. Fur brushed her cheek. And then he lowered his body gently over hers, covering her with the care of a creature who understood something urgent had broken. He barked. Again. Loud. Rhythmic. Commanding. A circle began to form. Her mind swam. She wanted to speak but couldn't. She wanted to cry but didn't. Instead, She stared at the badge on Rex's collar, right in front of her eyes, metal gleaming in the sunlight, shaped like a small shield. It caught the light and threw it in sparks onto the ground. Sarah blinked. The badge, the scarf, the fountain roaring nearby. She was still here, still breathing, and Rex wasn't leaving. The market that had once overwhelmed her now felt distant, a blur, like a canvas pulled back. All she saw clearly was him. The people finally reacted. One man knelt beside her. A woman called for help. Someone shouted toward the security tent, but Rex didn't move. He lay still, his head lowered, ears raised, watching everyone, watching everything. In the distance, sirens began to wail. Sarah closed her eyes, one hand on her stomach, the other reaching for the red scarf. Her fingers brushed fabric. Rex leaned closer. For the first time all day, her breath came steady. Her baby kicked, and that's when she heard someone say the word. Hero. The sirens grew louder, parting the market's murmur like a blade. Someone waved toward the parking lot entrance, and the crowd began to peel away. Rex did not move. He stayed low, pressed gently against Sarah's side, his weight just enough to keep the world at bay. His ears twitched with each approaching sound. The metal clatter of a stretcher wheel, the static buzz of a radio, hurried footsteps. Sarah blinked up at the sky, but it had lost all its color. Her breath trembled in her chest, slow and shallow. She was aware of the people now gathering in a loose circle, some curious, some filming, but all of it felt far away. What she felt most was the fur against her cheek, and the warm, rhythmic breath of the dog who had seen her when no one else did. The paramedics arrived in a flurry of urgency and restraint. One knelt beside Sarah, a woman with a calming voice who introduced herself as Mandy. She asked simple questions, and Sarah tried to nod. Another medic checked her pulse, blood pressure, eyes. Every time a hand moved too close, Rex's ears shot back and his tail stiffened. He never growled. He never snapped. But he watched everything. One of the responders reached toward Sarah's arm. Rex shifted slightly. "Easy, boy," someone said. But no one tried to remove him. Sarah lifted a weak hand. "He's okay." Her voice surprised even her. It felt like it came from the ground itself. The medic looked at her, then at Rex. "Is he yours?" Sarah shook her head. "No, but he found me." They managed to slide a board beneath her. Rex backed off just enough, circling to the other side of the stretcher as they lifted her. Sarah clutched the scarf now, crumpled in her fist. Her fingers wouldn't let go. She felt the heat again. The thrum of the market still pulsed, but it was changing. People clapped. Some whispered. Children pointed at Rex, who walked in a slow circle around the medics like a guardian. Then, amid the chaos, her mind gave her a single terrifying thought. What if he had not come? She saw herself on the ground, alone, unseen. The thought hollowed her stomach. Her hand fell again to her belly, and her eyes welled with quiet fear. The fountain's roar returned. As the stretcher rolled past, a spray of water caught the sunlight, throwing sparks of light into the air. Drops hit Sarah's face, cool and shocking. She blinked hard, and that's when she looked at Rex fully. He walked beside the stretcher now, tail low, eyes forward. His handler, an officer named Jordan, had finally caught up and stayed a few feet behind, allowing Rex the space he had claimed. Jordan spoke into a radio. "We're heading to the med tent. Woman stable. Dog won't leave her side." Rex's collar badge flashed again in the sun. Sarah turned her head toward him. Her lips trembled, but she whispered, "Thank you." And Rex looked at her. Not past her, not through her, at her. They reached the shaded medical tent, where fans buzzed and water was offered. Sarah was eased onto a padded cot. The medics checked the baby's heartbeat, strong. The monitor's soft rhythm filled the air like a lullaby. Sarah exhaled a sob she hadn't realized she was holding. One of the responders smiled. "Your vitals are okay. You were dehydrated, overheated, probably overwhelmed. That, plus pregnancy. Your body just shut down for a minute." She nodded. Her hand still rested on her stomach. "She's okay?" she whispered. "She's okay," the medic replied. "And so are you." Rex finally sat down beside the cot. He didn't pant or pace. Just watched her. Jordan approached, cap in hand. "Name's Officer Jordan. This is Rex. He's trained for crowd control, search and rescue, and public protection. But he's never done anything like this. Not on his own." Sarah looked from Jordan to Rex. "He knew. He just knew." Jordan nodded slowly. "Sometimes they do. Training's one thing. Instinct's another." Sarah studied Rex again. The badge on his collar glinted one more time, and she reached out to touch it. Her fingers brushed metal, then fur. Rex didn't flinch. She placed the red scarf gently over his shoulders, tucking it around the base of his collar like a mantle. A soft breeze picked it up. He looked regal, whole. She smiled. Outside the tent, the market was still buzzing, but inside, time held still. Sarah leaned back on the cot, the monitor steady, the scarf resting on Rex's back. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. Then a voice came from outside the tent. "Are you the woman from the crowd?" Sarah's heart kicked. She turned her head. A man held up his phone. "This video's everywhere. Your dog, he's a hero." She looked at Rex. But Rex wasn't looking at the man. He was watching the entrance. Something else was coming. The tent flap lifted, and the man stepped inside, phone still recording. He wore a hopeful smile, but Sarah flinched. The light from the doorway hit her face. The cot felt too exposed now, like a stage. She pulled the red scarf up from Rex's shoulders and held it in her lap, trying to fold it. Her fingers worked at the fabric, but they were shaking. Rex's ears twitched. Jordan stepped forward. "She needs space. Please, turn that off." The man hesitated, then backed out, muttering something about going viral. The flap fell shut again, but the moment lingered. Sarah's eyes drifted to the monitor. The baby's heartbeat still ticked steady. The room was quiet, cool, safe, but her chest had tightened. "Again. I didn't think anyone saw me fall," she said softly. Jordan looked up from where he'd been checking Rex's harness. He did. She glanced down at the dog beside her. Rex hadn't moved. He sat close, eyes half-lidded, posture relaxed but alert. His presence filled the space like a warm shadow. Sarah swallowed. "It's strange. You grow up thinking someone will rush to help you in a crisis. But when it actually happens, they freeze. Or they film," Jordan nodded. "Happens more than we like to admit." I felt invisible. She didn't mean to say it out loud, but there it was. Outside, more voices gathered. Someone asked for her name. Another shouted about the miracle dog. A kid yelled Rex's name even though no one had told him. Sarah leaned her head back, eyes closed. She wasn't ready to be someone's headline. She didn't want attention. She wanted quiet, air, understanding. And somewhere inside her, something trembled loose. It came like a flicker. A memory? A different crowd. A different day. Rain on pavement. Umbrellas colliding. A hand tugging hers too hard. Her mother's voice, sharp with fear. The sound of sirens. Again? A crowd refusing to move. Sarah was 5. A car had hit someone near the bus stop. And in that crush of people, someone pushed her mother down. No one stopped. They just moved on. She hadn't remembered that moment in years. But now she saw it clearly. Her mother on the ground, hand outstretched. Just like Sarah had been hours earlier, the market had only awakened something already buried. Her breath hitched. Rex shifted instantly. His head rested against her knee. She opened her eyes and looked down. He was watching her. Not demanding, not confused. Just there. It broke her. A single tear slid down her cheek. Then another. And then she was crying. Not loud, not uncontrolled. just steady, silent, like the release of pressure from something sealed too long. The red scarf in her lap slowly darkened with drops. She didn't wipe them away. Jordan didn't speak. He busied himself with paperwork on the far table, giving her space. But Rex never moved. A medic returned with water and crackers. She smiled gently, set them down, and asked if Sarah wanted to call anyone. She shook her head. "I'm alone today," the medic nodded. "You're not anymore." "Not today." Sarah looked at Rex again. He had not left her side since the fall. Not once. The news spread quickly. The footage was already circulating, blurry but unmistakable. The moment she collapsed, the pause in the crowd, and then the sharp clarity of Rex emerging, like a soldier through smoke. Jordan showed her a clip. Sarah watched silently. Her own fall, her own stillness, the red scarf visible as it drifted. Then Rex, charging forward, body low, eyes locked, focused like a missile of purpose. The crowd parted like water. He reached her, lay across her, the footage cut off there. Sarah stared at the screen. "Do they know your name?" she asked. "Just the badge number." "And Rex," she nodded. "I think that's enough." Hours passed. She drank water. "Ate something." The medics checked her again. The baby kicked a second time, stronger, a kind of joyful protest. Sarah smiled through her tears. She whispered to her belly, "You're tougher than me." Rex stood then. For the first time since the incident, he stretched his legs, padded in a circle, and lay back down. Closer this time. So close that his paw touched her shoe. Outside, the sun began to set. Golden light filtered through the canvas of the tent. The market's noise was fading now, replaced by music from a nearby stage and the occasional rumble of carts being packed up. Jordan walked in again, holding a small slip of paper. "You're cleared to go, but I can walk you to your car if you'd like. Rex, too, if you want." Sarah didn't answer right away. Her eyes had locked on something behind Jordan. A young woman stood at the edge of the tent, holding something in her hands. The red scarf. Sarah glanced at her lap. It wasn't there. She must have dropped it. The girl stepped forward slowly, as if approaching a sacred space. "I saw you fall," she whispered. "I didn't help, but I picked this up." Sarah stared at her, and suddenly the silence broke. The girl stood frozen, scarf in hand. Her eyes were wide, glassy, her voice caught somewhere between apology and awe. Sarah looked at her, not through her, not past her, but into her. And she saw something she recognized. Not guilt, not shame, something more familiar. Fear. The same kind she had felt as her knees buckled. The same paralysis that had swept the crowd. Sarah reached out. The girl hesitated, then stepped forward and placed the scarf into her hands. Sarah held it, not tightly this time, but gently. The wind had cooled. The sun had lowered. The scarf no longer felt like armor. It felt like a thread connecting her to something real. "Thank you," Sarah said. The girl blinked. "I didn't know what to do." "But your dog." "He didn't even think," Sarah smiled softly. "He's not mine." But somehow, he knew. Outside the tent, the sky turned gold. Jordan signaled it was time to leave. Rex stood first. His movements were slow, measured. The adrenaline had faded, but he still walked close, step for step, beside Sarah as she made her way out. The fountain gushed in the background. She paused when they reached it. People were still there, eating, talking, moving on. Life had returned to normal. But something in her had shifted permanently. She stepped closer to the water's edge, Rex beside her. The scarf blew once more, catching the sunlight. She caught it mid-air, then looked at Rex. He sat calmly, badge glinting, tongue relaxed. No tension now, just watchfulness. Sarah knelt beside him, ignoring the ache in her knees. She tied the scarf gently around his neck again, this time like a gift. "You saved me," she whispered. Not just from the fall. Back at the parking lot, Jordan walked her to her car. They didn't speak much, just the kind of quiet that happens when people understand something deeply without needing words. As she opened her door, Rex paused. He looked up at her one last time before turning toward Jordan. Sarah stopped him. She knelt again and pressed her forehead lightly against his. "Someday," she said, "I hope my daughter meets someone as brave as you." Jordan smiled. "You take care of yourself, and that little one." Sarah nodded. "I will." That night, the house was still. Sarah stood in the nursery, one hand on her belly, the other holding the red scarf. She ran her fingers over the fabric, creased now, stained faintly with dust and memory. On the windowsill sat something new. A photo of Rex, printed from a screen capture someone had emailed her. The moment he reached her, all determination and motion, the badge bright, the scarf just visible on the ground. Underneath, she'd written one word: witness. Not hero, not savior. Witness. To her fall, to her rise, to her courage returning. She placed the scarf on the edge of the crib, and as she turned out the light, she whispered toward the stillness, "We're not invisible anymore." Dogs truly are the most loyal companions in our lives. What did you think of this heartwarming story? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily emotional dog stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next story of love, loyalty, and the incredible bond we share with our paw-some friends.